for today, we're going to be looking at what we call quadrants. Quad, the beginning of the word quad means four. So we're going to separate the whole thing into four sides. So starting at the top right, I'm going to call that quadrant 1. Then going against the clock, I'm going to call this quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Alright, so those are the four quadrants. So my thing here is state the quadrant or axis that each point lies in. What I mean with axis are those dark lines. The one that's laying down, the one left and right, that's the x-axis. As you guys can see, there's a little x right next to it. The one that goes up and down is called the y-axis. So you guys can see there's a little y next to it. So like I said, either lies down on the quadrant or an axis. So looking at point D, if I have to graph it, it will be here, which is the x-axis. So that's not on the quadrant, that's on the axis, because it's on one of those dark lines. If we look at point E, if I have to graph it, it will be here. So that is quadrant 1. At point E, I'm going to say quadrant 1. For point F, if I have to graph it, it will be here, right where my cursor is. So that is quadrant 3. Where do you guys have point G? Quadrant 1, good. What about point H? On quadrant 4, good. So this is what I'm expecting. I'm not quite expecting a graph of the point. You can graph it. You notice I graphed a couple points, so I will just know where they're at. So like you can graph it for reference, but I'm asking where is it? It's either on a quadrant or an axis. Like I said, if it's on the dark line, like point D, remember it's on an axis, not quadrant. So for the first four, that's what I'm asking. Take the quadrant or axis where the point lies in. Any questions for the first four questions? Manual, pay attention. All right, questions 5 through 8 are plot each point. All right, so I'm giving you the coordinates. And the coordinates, I mean these two numbers in the parentheses. I'm giving you the coordinates. You guys plot them in. So starting with point C, if I had to graph it, it says 3 to the left. Because remember, the first number tells me right or left. So it says 3 to the left and 3 down. So that's my point C. If I look at point D, I go 4 to the left, 5 up. That gives me my point D. And then so on for the rest of the points. Now, any questions on problems 5 through 8? Keep in mind 5 I did not finish. Then the last 4 questions, so 9 through 12, I'm gonna give you guys the points. You give me the coordinates. So like for point F, for example, and there's my point F. Starting from the origin, I will say go 4 to the left. So that's -4. And then 5 up, which is +5. Remember, the first number tells me right or left. The second number tells me up or down. Any questions?